I think Arlene is about as knowledgeable in library science as you can get. And if there's anything that you are looking for, she'll find it.
I'm going to refer to Arlene Zylla as the gentle giant.
The word I would choose is classy.
I would have to say the Amazon queen.
Organized.
Creative.
Fashionable.
I would have to say organized and efficient.
Pristine Arlene.
Arlene is kind, she's friendly, but she is the general.
I would say try to avoid her as much as possible, because if you go in her library, she'll kick you out if you're loud, so you got to avoid her as much as possible.
Calm.
So Arlene is very articulate, right? And caring.
I think Arlene's really chill.
Be precise.
Arlene is a beautiful soul and very classy lady.
I can't sum up Arlene in one or two words.
Warm, helpful.
I would have to say traveler extraordinaire.
Very creative, very organized, and very efficient.
Classy and timeless.
Hardcore wealth of knowledge.
The master of her area.
Well, organized is one of them. She's you go into that library and it is just like the most organized place in the school. So that's the one word. And the other one is just, she's just a great girl to be around and lots of fun. So when I go in, and half the time I go in there to pick something up, it takes me 15 minutes to get out of there because we start chatting about something. So she's really friendly, and I mean, that's more than 2 words, but she deserves it. So it's awesome. She's been great to work with.
I keep thinking of this line from the movie The Mummy, starring Rachel Weisz and Brendan Fraser. And there's a line, and it's a scene, really, and Rachel, who plays Evelyn, she gets a little tipsy, and she's asked a question, and she said, I may not be an explorer or an adventurer or a treasure seeker or a gunfighter, Mr. O'Connell, but I am proud of what I am. And he says to her, and what is that? And she said, I am a librarian. And I always think of Arlene because I thought she had that gutsy, kind of feisty attitude that Evelyn, the character, portrayed.
I think people don't really realize the amount of things that Arlene has done for the building or does for the building, the amount of effort and time that is spent looking for resources or just trying to improve both the library and our lives here as teachers.
She's that reliable voice of calm person that I can go into, and when I need something, it's always, yes, Kyle, I can do that for you, no problem. Gets it done efficiently and properly, and that's what I'm going to miss with Arlene there, is having that person that I know I can rely on all the time.
She kept up with the times. She always made sure that the books that the students wanted to read, she was ahead of the trends, she would stock that. And if you go into the library today, it's kind of has the ambience of almost like an internet cafe, and it's very welcoming. But when students have to go in there to finish assignments or exams, it's quiet when it has to be.
That's been a godsend, to be able to send an exam down there and know that she'll look after it, make sure the student writes the right exam, gets it back to you, in a timely manner.
I know I had a conversation with her earlier where she was just saying to me that, she talked about the different phases that the library went through and how it was always important to be able to meet with other librarians and see what's out there. And so that she had a constant thirst of knowledge. And I think I'm going to miss that because I feel like she was kind of always looking ahead.
When I first came here, her library was very much like a library, right? Tables and stacks. But I've seen it evolve into a very warm, inclusive, welcoming space with lots of activities for different styles of learners. Everything from hands-on puzzle making to playing games to computers to the old-fashioned books, which some students still look at. But yeah, for students, definitely very, very welcoming. And staff as well, with the couches in there, you can go in there and relax and chat with the students if you're so inclined, or do some of your own work. It's very comfortable in there.
changed a lot over the years, as I'm sure if you ask her, that library and what you do in the library now, but she still made it such a comfortable place for kids to go, even though no one's taking out library books, anymore, or hardly I can imagine. But she always, whatever she had to do to keep it trendy, to keep it current, and you could just tell her professionalism, right, and how she could keep those kids coming in and learning however you could, whatever she could do.
But there's a reason why this position is full-time. There's a reason why the library is so well put together and like just a beautiful area. She took the whole picture of the library and making a welcoming environment and the materials and having every group you could think of representative in our materials. So I think she's just taking in like the big picture and thinking years ahead when making decisions. And you can see that when you come in the library here.
The first time I met Arlene, I was 3 years old, and my mom had just started working at what would have been Primo, I think at the time, yeah. And my mom and Arlene went for coffee at Arlene's, and I had to tag along, so I was 3 years old.
Yeah, I started in 1982, a year after I finished college. And I started at Primo. My then boss, I started at the same time as Paul O'Day. And I was 21 years old. And he wasn't quite sure what to make of me. But after I had finished my first year and he said that I was coming back, he kind of gave me a little pat on the head because he wasn't quite sure. I didn't quite fit with the staff and I didn't quite fit with the kids, and I was somewhere in between.
Primo was a very different setup from this high art of librarianism, but she made it work. She found every nook and cranny and still managed to make herself calm and collected in the midst of all that.
I can remember being in grade 7 and coming in, and there was Arlene Zylla coming in, and all I can remember is from the time I was probably grade 7 up until grade 12, first year teaching, she scared the living shit out of me. And she was really good at her job in terms of just making sure that you follow the rules, you follow the protocol, book return, all that stuff. Arlene had a plan, Arlene had an agenda. You follow Arlene's agenda, or she would let you know.
She was actually Trevor's librarian when my husband, Trevor, was in school. And she was just a fresh librarian at the time, only a couple years older than the boys in high school. And a lot of them thought that Arlene was something else. But Trevor has talked a couple of times about how she would let them play like hacky sack in the library after school. So her creating a space that's comfortable for everybody goes way back. It's not just something that has just developed. It's always been there.
There was always, at the Primo library, I remember as a kid, there was always places for students to sit, to get stuff done, to work, have that quiet area, but also trying to make it not just a library that was to come in and just be somewhere to study, but somewhere to kind of hang out and feel comfortable at us too.
I don't have a lot of memories for Primo anymore. So I remember, obviously you remember Arlene being there and stuff, but the biggest thing I remember about the library is you could never get a video card. And Arlene would always try to help you out for that because some guys had it booked up all the time. And that was the biggest thing I remember about the library back then. It was that's a few years ago now.
Like her library, always a good collection of DVDs and stuff like that, movies to watch. Back in the day at Primo, there was, for what you could get, there was a fair collection of VHS tapes. So things that not necessarily movies, but educational things that teachers could probably get a hold of. Because I remember watching quite a few VHS tapes as the teacher would roll in the old TV desk and VHS cart. That was a good day too. So.
MCHS opened in 1994-95, and I remember going to a party at Arlene's place, and it was just the girls really, and we got into the vino and whatnot, and I just remember hearing some of the gossip about the MCHS staff because I had come from Legal, right, didn't know anybody, And I remember just thinking, I felt included for the first time, like once you got the dish on the people. So I can thank Arlene for that party, that opening party.
I started here in 1995, and Arlene was the librarian, and we had numerous conversations when I would be in the library taking over from people, and I came back and she said, it's really great. I know who you are, but I've never had a chance to work with you. And I said, yeah. I said, we did in 1995. So my feeling was hurt. And I have sought out some counseling, but Arlene, I do remember you in 1995, and I'll get over it that you don't remember me.
Arlene is a librarian first and foremost, but she also is a social worker. She's figured out how to figure out kids and know what to put in front of them and know how to put that space around them so that they're comfortable, so that they're focused, but that they don't feel estranged from a learning environment.
I had a vision of what I wanted to see a long time ago. We are a collection of square pegs here, and a lot of kids, they just don't fit in other places. And so this became the place I wanted it to be, bright, cheery, welcoming, and a place where all kids fit in.
Well, over the years, it's changed from a area where it was super quiet, then it went to an area that was super loud, and I think it rotated back to an area that's nice and quiet again, last time I checked in there. But again, she created the home away from home for all these kids. She allowed the kids to come in, maybe on spare, maybe not on spare, but she allowed these kids to come in, and she created that area for them to be very, very welcoming.
Oh, I always appreciated Arlene's sternness, like kindness, but like she held a high standard and you met it, and if you didn't meet it, you were told. And we miss that this day and age, and I love the fact that Arlene had that standard that was very kind, but you pull your weight.
She maintained the atmosphere of what a library should be, and that's quiet, obviously. And if you weren't quiet, then you felt her wrath. That's, I think, a given. And from people who graduated in '95 to those graduating today probably still understand that.
When I was a student here, grade 11 and 12, that's where I would spend my spares, is in the library. Nice quiet place where I could work with my fellow students on whatever. Usually it was probably physics or chemistry. So we'd go in and work in there, and we'd get a little noisy, but Arlene she'd never say anything to us, like she knew we were on task. And on the days where we weren't really working on homework, I just remember like the wall of magazines when you'd walk into that library, and I loved that wall of magazines, and I'd take the latest issue or two of my favorite ones, and I'd sit there and read those. It was awesome.
Like, I just felt so welcomed in that space. And then I used to hang out there at lunch all the time as a student, and we got really rambunctious. And every time she would come politely tell us to shut up. It was funny because we'd see her and we'd get really quiet. We're like, we're really sorry, Mrs. Zylla. And she's like, it's okay. She's like, I'm glad you're enjoying the space. And so I just really like that kind of back and forth where we had that kind of connection.
The kids love what she's created in there. It's very comfortable. It's not just a library. It's a safe space. It's a comfortable space. It's a space really for anybody.
Well, as a staff member now, I don't know how she does it, but like that same vibe that I got when I was in high school, and the area of respect and quiet and study, like I walk in there today as a staff member, and it's the exact same thing. I've never seen her talk to the kids about it, but you always get that impression when you walk in. It's really cool.
Well, I had the pleasure of being trapped in the library last year for the second semester because the graphics lab was closed for the computer science class. So I got to spend basically the entirety of the second semester in third block with Arlene, and it was honestly one of the highlights of my day. Just sort of seeing how the space changed, the new seats that were being brought in, the different the bikes that were being brought in, her blaming my student teacher for breaking her chairs. My student teacher was a 6'7", 120-pound guy, and he would often lean back on the seats real all the time. And him and her didn't have exactly the best relationship because she blamed him for breaking the seats, and he said that it was not him. But it was really fun to watch and actually not be a part of that time. So.
And I think most new teachers that come into the school are a little afraid of Arlene because Arlene has a standard in that library, and sometimes they're a little bit afraid. And I have to admit that was me too when I first started here many years ago. And until James told me, he's like, "Who keeps hitting the side door of your vehicle?" I'm like, "What do you mean?" He's like, "Come look, Karina, come see what's going on." And I said, I looked, I'm like, "Oh, well, there's only one person that I park beside on that side." And I'm like, "Oh no, I'm going to have to go talk to Arlene about this." So I was really nervous, but you know what? I did. It all worked out, and we've been great ever since.
When I first got here, I didn't think Arlene was very efficient. In fact, I thought she was very forgetful. Because my first entire year, I kept asking her to bring in some Bill Nye, the Science Guy videos for me teaching. I had 3 sections of Science 9 that year. And I needed something a little bit, exciting, because at that time there wasn't this awesome web we could get clips off of, so it was a little dry. So I kept asking her, "Arlene, is there any chance you've gotten any Bill Nye videos yet?" No, not yet. And I kept thinking to myself, wow, I don't know, but of course I'm the first year newbie teacher, so I'm not wanting to rock the boat. I was like, okay, well, maybe next month. So I went back every month asking her for these videos. And then finally, when I went in the spring of my first year, and I asked her the same question, and she said, "Well, I'm going to be honest with you. I don't ever buy anything when a first-year teacher asks me for it because I don't think that they're going to be around, and it's probably going to be a waste of money. But now that you've got your permanent contract, now I will purchase you whatever you want." So she purchased me the entire set of Bill Nye the Science Guy videos, and that was when I began to see that really Arlene is very brilliant and not forgetful at all, just only going to purchase videos if you're not a first-year teacher.
In the best way possible, like the term of "don't take crap from anyone," that suits Arlene with students and staff, but in a good way.
Arlene's a bit of a bulldog when it comes to her resources. She loves her materials, and heaven help you, if you damage them in any way, you're paying for them. I've collected a lot of money for Arlene, and I've also heard a lot of stories, and I've also heard the dog ate it and that sort of stuff, as I'm sure she has.
We haven't lost a lot. We lose some every year and that, but most of the time the kids are pretty good at bringing them back for me.
Well, all I know is if you went into her library and tried to get another book out and you didn't have one that was returned yet, it was not a pretty sight. She made sure you knew it and everybody else around knew it, that you couldn't get a book out. So she was very good that way. I think she's probably the second meanest person in the building behind me.
Well, I think as Arlene has set this precedent of what she expects and that she likes her library to be orderly and have everything there, that right from the get-go, when she sends out that very friendly reminder to get your books in, you tend to hop to it. So then you're always checking it twice, and if you can't find a book, you're down there being apologetic and thinking, I'm sure it's somewhere. And so she has that knack of very friendly, very kindly, asking for the resources back, but you have this underlying feeling that you don't want to disappoint her because you don't know what the consequence could be.
I'm still living in fear that there's the odd book that I have not turned back in. Arlene was nice and welcoming, but at the same time, right? You knew what to expect.
Absolutely, yeah. You don't mess around with Arlene and those books. They need to come back, and she will chase you down and find you and let us know so that those books come back.
There was one guy who I had to pester, and finally I had been talking to Mom, and she said, "I'm going to find them." And she came in, and she had an entire box full. I'm talking probably 30 textbooks. It was in the trunk of her son's car. She found it. And apparently he was the guy who gave rides to all his buddies and that. And I really hated to tell her that although that box of books that she brought me in, none of them were his. But we kind of gave her a pass on it because we got 30 books back, so we were good.
I have a habit of not returning my C-pens to Arlene, and it takes sometimes a couple weeks before they get back in, and she will send out an email being like, I'm missing a certain amount of C-pens, and she always knows who the culprit is. She says it's one of two people, and it's usually me. And so then I kind of avoid the library for a little while there. And anyway, I saw her a little while ago, and I said, yeah, I apologize for the C-pens. I forgot to get them back into you. And she said, look, Aaron, there are certain types of teachers that we have in the building here, and they may not be the most organized, but they're brilliant. And I think that you're one of those teachers. And honestly, it's one of the nicest things anybody's said to me about being a teacher, and I just really appreciated those words, and it'll be something that I'll be hanging on to for a long time.
In the few conversations I've had with Arlene, I really know that she appreciates the students and what's best for them. And so she's reconfigured, the library to meet their needs. She's always talking about what she can do more for the kids, the system that they have in place, like for exams and all the support she has in there. And she exudes happiness in doing that. Like, you can just tell that she enjoys supporting our students and our staff.
You know what? Working with kids all these years, they have the greatest. I know they can be difficult sometimes, but honestly, they just have the greatest outlook. I learn a lot from them. They learn maybe a little bit from me, but it's the kids and the staff. We're a family here. And I've had a family for 40 years.
Always so much fun with Arlene. I remember over the years being in groups for whether it's our car rallies or whatever we're doing, being part of her groups, and always lots of fun. I remember going to her house for a year end, which was a blast.
I think it's going to be, less colorful, I guess. Like she's, you can always go in the library and have a chat, and she's her door is always open.
Right, and a lot of times when you run into the library for something like really quick, your really quick trip doesn't end up being really quick. Because then you get chit-chatting, and then it's hard to leave the conversation because it's always good conversation.
Oh, absolutely. And Arlene and I have had many a chat, and we both like to talk. So there's been a few times where time has gotten away, and we've been busy chatting and catching up, and listening to her weekends and that sort of stuff. It's always been it's been fun.
She's always so kind about asking, how you're doing and how people in your life are doing, and so genuinely wants to know and interested.
It's funny because her dad and my dad both owned hotels growing up and stuff like that, so we'd get into conversations about, how our parents were in the hotel business and things like that. So
we had just got into the RVs, and Arlene had just got a new one. And we're comparing notes and stories and ideas on how to do all that, and I get to hear all these stories about her crew and the crazy things that they do when they go out camping, and it's cool.
Arlene and myself are both very avid travelers, and over the years we've discussed so many of the trips that we've had and we've taken, and on a few occasions we've almost literally bumped into each other. I know last spring break, if I'm not mistaken, Arlene and I, we wound up only being, I think it was about 4 kilometers away from each other down the beach in Punta Cana. We tried to make that connection, but both of us were just a little bit too lazy to make the walk to the other resorts. So maybe, in retirement, we'll have to maybe plan something where we're at some closer resorts.
I've had some conversations with her. She just... we love fashion, and we've exchanged some words about that. And she's always looked so trendy and so put together and so happy. And so, I don't know, I think of fashion when I think of her, actually.
I just really like what Arlene's always wearing. She looks great 99% of the time.
We always talk about our outfits every morning, and she'll compliment me and I'll compliment her, and we check out her shoes, and there's of course more than that, just the superficial stuff, but inside she's just always has a smile, and you need something, she drops everything right away. So just a beautiful soul.
The first time I ever met Arlene, and I was a new teacher at MCHS, new to the province, wasn't sure about -1 or -2 courses in English, and she just led me through everything. She told me all the resources, what previous teachers had done, what I had access to, and she just made me feel calm and collected with the whole process.
She is one of those enigmatic characters with flair and flamboyance that just rocks the world. It seems impossible that she could live in a world that could be chaotic, and yet she makes it clean and pure and beautiful, and as everybody else would probably say, organized. That's Arlene.
I think the space she created reflects who she is, and if you walk into the library and you see the comfort that students have, the welcoming, warm atmosphere, that sums Arlene up. And what she's done in the classroom is what she's brought from her life into the library.
Wonderful space. As soon as you walk in, it's beautifully decorated, and based on seasons, she switches it up. And so to have that flair and that taste, you can definitely see it.
In fact, so many parents that I do so many tours over the last couple of years, and they love when we walk in the library. They're like, this is such a nice space. So they all think, wow, this is a great place for my kids to be.
Her library is such a wonderful space. The kids absolutely love it. It's always so creative. It's always dressed up for all the seasons. So I'm hoping she's passed on some of that to Matthew, so he can create some nice displays.
So I'm hoping Matthew has learned a few tips from her.
So it's just like it's going to be a different library headed forward. Good or bad, I guess that's up to me. But and she's made me more than enough prepared to take over. But this place will still have her fingerprints on it for 10, 20 years to come.
There's actually another quote from the mummy, and she's still drunk, probably drunker at this point, Rachel Wise, who plays Evelyn, and she says, you're probably wondering, what's a place like me doing in a girl like this? and a place like me, well, that's the Primo Library, that's MCHS Library, and so that's Arlene, that's her place and that's hers, so now she'll have to figure out a way to, now that the place has left her, what becomes of the girl.
Her and I had a little agreement where she always came and said to me, she goes, if you see that it's time for me to go, you need to come tell me that it's time to go. And Arlene, I never had to tell you that it's time to go. So
I just want to say, Arlene, you've been here for my whole career, and it's been such a joy. Every time I go into the library, you're so welcoming. We always have some great chit-chats about things, and sometimes I just don't want to leave, and you're going to be greatly missed. You have run a tight ship in the library, and you've been a strong component of what makes MCHS, and I'm going to miss you, but I hope that you have a great future plan for you. I know you're going to be doing lots of traveling, and I'm sure we'll see you on the odd occasion as you'll come by and give us a little visit.
Well, wishing you the best in retirement. Don't be a stranger and come and visit when you can. Bye.
Arlene, we're going to miss you, but the good news is that you'll never have to come looking for another CPEN.
All the best to you, God bless, and we've been very happy and blessed to have you at MCHS.
Oh, enjoy your retirement. It's heaven. It's great. Don't look back. There'll be some days you miss people, but hey, the days that are opposite, that you have so much enjoyment and excitement, so much out there that you'll enjoy.
We will miss you at MCHS for sure, but you know what? You're going to Arizona in the hot sun, and enjoy your time. Congratulations.
Have fun in Arizona, and I hope your house is open for guests.
I'm going to miss you so much, but I know you're going off to greener pastures, well, sandier pastures, I guess. We're going to miss you a lot. Have a good time. Take care.
You know, this is something I know you've been counting down a little bit, so I hope you have a great time traveling around the world and going to your hot destinations, and it's been great working with you, and we'll be missed.
Congratulations, Arlene. Enjoy, of course, all your holidays and more of your shopping. And don't forget to buy some nice matching shoes and think of me. Bling, bling.
Have a great retirement, and we'll miss you over here. Things are changing, but we're going to miss that hard line that I loved always going to the library and watching you perform. But anyways, thanks, and talk to you later.
Yeah, I hope you have the best retirement ever, Arlene. Thank you so much for being amazing, both for me as a student, as a staff member. I'm going to miss you so much.
I'm so happy for you. You've worked so hard. I know you've been in this building for a lot of years, and you are dearly loved, and you will be missed. I hope that you have a wonderful retirement and you get to enjoy travel and going down to your new place and your grandkids. So we just wish you the best of luck, and hopefully you'll stop in and see us when you're back in town.
It's Chrissy the Crybaby. Just want to wish you all the best, Arlene, and happy trails to you in your travels, and best of luck. Love you, dear.
I am so envious. Phoenix or wherever warm you're going, enjoy, have a few Mai Tais for me as I'm slogging it out here in this cold weather, but it's well deserved. I wish you well, good luck, and think about us once in a while with a laugh as you're sipping whatever you're sipping.
Congratulations, Arlene. I'm going to miss you, and enjoy your retirement. Have fun.
Well, Arlene, I wish you luck. You don't need any of that. I can see you sunning at a beach somewhere or tripsing through the ruins there in Egypt like Evelyn did. Maybe you'll be an Egyptologist yet. Your life is ahead of you, so seize the moment and enjoy the life.
I wish you a happy retirement and best of luck in this new chapter of life.
Speaking from my experiences being retired, I can tell you, you're going to be really busy. If you thought you were now, no, you're going to be really busy. You're going to enjoy doing things that you want to do, and I know that you guys like to go out and quad and play in the outdoors. I know you'll have lots of time for grandchildren, which is right up there at the top of the pile. So I just hope that you enjoy every second of your retirement, because you definitely have earned it. We're going to miss you here very much.
Arlene, I wish you all the luck in your retirement. It's very well deserved, and I hope you enjoy every minute of it.
We were blessed to have you, and now your family's blessed to have you back in their arms. Congratulations.
Arlene, congratulations, 40 years. What an amazing accomplishment. Thank you for all the fantastic conversations over the years. I am certainly going to miss them. I'm now going to need another alibi as to why I'm late for class on a regular basis. But all kidding aside, all the best in your retirement. Enjoy Arizona. I know you will. And I know you'll be out there traveling the world. So enjoy every minute of it.
Yeah, just thanks, Arlene, for taking the time to teach me so much. More than I learned in university, basically. Yeah, and I really appreciate you taking that time, and we look forward to seeing you coming in for me substituting.